Hello, hello, and welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, and with me, as always, is my man Seth Price down there in the BluShark and DC headquarters of Price Benowitz LLP. LLC, what are you?
We're an LLP.
LLP, nice, very good. Okay, folks, so we're back, and this is a wonderful day because it's spring. Spring is over, summer's over, fall is here, right? Labor Day is this weekend,
Well,
and
it's amazing that like every year when the weather changes, and this year I felt like it changed early. Like we're still in summer in DC and it's been fall. It's
oh,
cool. I love it.
yeah, I had a jacket on this past weekend. I mean, I live in New England, so I'm ready for stick season, and then we'll get the leaves, then we'll get stick season, then we'll get winter.
In
I'm all
DC,
good.
it's generally like Labor Day. Like it's warm, 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 and then not. And
Right.
this not so much. It was an early coolness.
So, okay, now Labor Day has come. Summer vacations are over. You're going for the big push towards the end of the year, right? You want to end the year strong and all that fun stuff. What are your priorities now going forward over the next, 4 months? Like, is there anything that you're thinking of um, as what you need to end the year with so that 2025 is a huge success?
I think it's a mixed bag. On the law firm side, the end of the year is when PI comes together. So those people doing PI, I know
Well,
it's a
what
consistent
percentage of your firm is PI now?
this year. Maybe it will be 50%. If we hit 50% potentially for the first time, we do historically, a solid number of criminal, which has always been too hard to beat. The thing with PIs, you don't know where it's going to go. Criminal's
Right.
pretty consistent. You got that month over month. We had a big setback on the criminal side that a lot of the stuff that our president has done really changed the game on federal criminal prosecutions. And our world, and actually significantly, those people doing federal criminal were sort of sent scrambling. It really upset the apple cart. And so here it's much more of how do you finish out the year decently, whereas other areas like family and our criminal and PI have done nicely. And so I think that, look, you ask a great question, how you finish out the year. For me, it's finish out the plan with PI, which is, there's an arc in the year as far as when the settlements come in, which is crazy. But I think it's, prune as much as you can out of areas that don't have it. And we've done that. One of my partners who was full-time white collar, and you and your dad, I know, had this back in the day, pivoted into PI and has had a really good, successful run. And the goal is to take this guy as a juggernaut of a trial lawyer and turn him into an incredible PI lawyer, litigator, which is, come on trees. So, lots of good stuff there. Few things on my mind, being a little ADHD on you, that we've talked about over the years, figuring out the bringing people on without experience versus with experience. We've talked about that countless times. I'm now living a new version of it where it's so hard, as you know, to find great talent for a bunch of reasons. Number of people going to law school, loan forgiveness programs, et cetera, that I am now struggling with. Do you start a summer program? Is that too early? Because then you don't know whether people actually want to do your type of law. Are you going to pick up some of these, newbies, people coming out of clerkships, which also comes with risk because it's more expensive. It's not the same recent college grad, recent law school grad, and trying to figure out that mix in the game. How about you? What's your race to the end of the year look like?
So, I've been investing. This is something that I want to talk about. I've been investing a lot in brand um, over the last 2.5, 3 years. And we're probably spending 30 to 35% of our marketing dollars now, not on hot leads like LSAs in the criminal market, but we're spending more and more on brand. I'm doing a ton of YouTube. I mean, I think last year we ran 15 million YouTube unskippable ads. And now YouTube's going to be running 30-second unskippable ads, which I think that means that they're going to then throw those onto their YouTube TV platform, which we're already getting traction on. And I'm
I don't,
just
but I don't,
one.
but I don't get it. Like I run a very large criminal practice like yours. I've never seen brand work the way I want it to. I see it in PI. I mean, and not that it can't work in criminal. I just can't believe that you can't get better return from other search elements for criminal compared to brand. Like, what are you seeing? You're spending all this money. Are you seeing the cases go up significantly?
Well, I mean, we're growing. We're still in growth. I mean, our criminal practice is going to grow, wind up like I think we're right now, so far year to date, we're 16.5%,
I'm sorry, how many?
16.5.
What were
And
you doing historically? Just doing your normal digital play.
yeah, it was, it was just paper. I mean, the only difference that we've added is the brand stuff on social and on YouTube.
But is
Um,
that, but it, can, or again, and I know it's impossible. Are you at, or how many people that are coming in through traditional channels, when you say like, through the phones, when you say, have you seen our YouTube ads, are saying yes?
I'd say at least, well, what's 1/8? So that's what's that, 12% a week, acknowledge that they've seen them. They're not saying necessarily that that was the deal
No, no,
maker.
understood. I'll take, all I want to know is they're seeing them.
Yeah.
Is that in and of itself, that is amazing. I have not figured that out. There are guys in upstate New York who do DUI radio ads all over the place. There's a guy on the West Coast, Kevin Oki, had a great run doing that. So
I don't know anybody who listens to the radio anymore. That's the problem.
well, the people not well. Let's put it
In
this
the
way: your demographic is
Right, my demographic doesn't.
right. So they may be the YouTube skipple ads, the new version of what was radio, for example. Given it's ironic because there was a whole thing about how a certain segment of the population listens to YouTube and doesn't watch it.
Right.
You know, Probably my team at work. But
I It's interesting. I Years ago I ran radio.
yeah,
And when I ran radio, they produced this very slick commercial for me. And it was people talking, blah blah blah. It looks sounds like you're in a bar. Then there's the ignition, then there's the siren, and I was like, I hated it. And they were like, well, what do you want? And I said, I want 15 different people saying my firm name on loop for 30 seconds. And so they told me they would try to produce it, and I went out and I produced it myself. I did it.
well,
You know,
it's classic Jay.
this is who I am, right? I actually Chuck Rathburn, who probably listens to the show, he helped me put it together with a bunch of his kids and their friends. And we ran the commercial for a month, and I got a bunch of feedback that it was the number one commercial that was requested to be taken off the air. That it was because it was an earworm. It
Yeah.
was it was people just saying my name for 15 seconds straight or 30 seconds straight. And the salesman was like, I can't believe the response that we got. We had more people calling in for this than to win money. I mean, we saw an uptick in people calling us directly. I still get people who call us who say, I heard you on the radio years ago. And they're like, and I hated you. I hated you because I was sitting in my car at a traffic light waiting for Howard Stern to come back on the air or the music to start back up. And all I heard was your name, like for 30 seconds straight. And it just drove me crazy. And so I have that running on YouTube now for those people who don't watch it. And it's just, for the brand, it's my Mr. Speedseeker brand. And it's horrific. I'll send it to your people. They can splice it into the show and people can hear it because it is just, it will drive you
Well,
mad.
so
Guess what? People are remembering it.
no, no, I got you. And look, so I have the opposite. We've been doing, thanks to the Mike Morris push from Fireproof, we've been doing a backpack giveaway, 3 years running, giving away several thousand backpacks. It's awesome. It's awesome for the community. It's awesome for the team. The team comes together. We're large enough now that people get to spend time that don't normally get to spend time together. Lots and lots of positive, a lot of effort, a lot of money goes into it. And along those lines, it's one of those life moments when you look at what the nut is, and not that you don't want to do a giveaway, but it's what are you getting for brand? How much of this thank you for my object versus what is retained
Right.
during that interaction. And I'm slowly coming around. Like there's two different worlds, right? There's the John Morgan, which is spend money everywhere. It doesn't matter. The brand comes back versus, if you're doing something tactile like that is less more. Is it something, my thought right now is to do something more carnival-like with a bounce house, face painters, maybe some different social services agencies or nonprofits at an event where you're handing it, where it's more of a conversation than how many can we give away, how quickly, and changing that metaphor to be part of a relationship rather than just, so look, and it's brand works, right? You stuck in somebody's head, they may hate you. Why do people listen to Howard Stern? Because they wanted to hear what he was going to say next, good and bad. So I get it. It is one of those things. And as somebody who has over the last 2 years now, we now have from 100% digital, we now have a radio budget, and we now have a TV budget. And that it drives me crazy, the fact that I can't really demonstrate the ROI from them. And that, look, it comes through digital. So as a guy with a digital marketing agency, it's great because your numbers keep
Well,
going up. And so there is more money, but how do you demonstrate that it's from one particular source?
so here's the question I have for you, and I don't have the answer for myself, but I'll pose it to you and to everybody in the audience. You're spending money on brand, right? With the backpacks. But what is the brand of Price Benowitz? Like, how does that brand connect with the people who are taking the
100%.
backpacks? And that, I think, is the issue. Because, like, for me, I defend people who are charged with crimes, I defend people who are drivers. It makes sense for me to give out insurance card holders to everybody who I have as a client because they got pulled over and asked for registration and insurance.
They know that this is
And
something.
they know they need that. But when you are doing a mass giveaway like that, you just have people who are showing up to take the freebie. And they have,
And it's part of it is that, like, this is the use of this particular situation is you are doing that. You're saying, hey, I'm not wanting anything. It's literally a goodwill piece. It's Jay buying drinks for the entire bar.
but you're trying to do that at skip. But listen, if I buy drinks for the entire bar, I'm probably gonna get acknowledged by everybody in that bar. To some, like, say there's 100
Yes
people in
and
the
yes
bar and
and
I
no,
buy a
though.
round of
If
drinks.
you buy a round
60
of drinks at the
people.
end of the night, what percentage of people will know your name? And it's not as much as we think.
Right.
And
So say 50% know
no,
my name.
understood. And I would be okay with that. I think that by doing something instead of just handing away a backpack, having something where there's more of a connection. That's
Right.
what I want to move towards. I see the flip side. We did this Commanders deal, right? So I have the Commanders partnership, multi-$100,000 buy-in where we're getting this brand association, and there all you're trying to do is associate your name with something that somebody likes. And again, in essence, the backpack is that. It's just instead of it being an NFL team, it's when they see their kid
So wait,
walk
can you
around.
use the Commanders logo in your marketing?
Yes, I mean,
So
a bunch of hoops you have to jump through. So,
So could you go on Cameo and find a whole bunch of old Redskins players and get them to talk about how Price Benowitz is amazing, and
right,
then
and
run those as YouTube ads?
that's a great idea. B, like I've learned all the dirty secrets of the inside, which is you can do anything you want with the brand as long as you pay an 18% vig back to the NFL or to the Commanders for every time you use it. So you pay money up front, and then you pay 18% for koozies, sweatshirts, anything with the brand on it. You pay. So it's interesting, and I think time will tell. You're seeing some of the biggest players do this at sporting events. All you're trying to do, there's so in all of our worlds, there's competition, and how can you create something that might have a potential chance of that connection?
Yeah, like you can get Joe Theismann on Cameo. I'm looking it up right now. Like there's
So there's
some.
always a different rate for commercial than for the
Oh,
cameo.
absolute. Doug Williams. Let's see. I mean, Doug Williams. He didn't he take him to the Super Bowl? He won a Super Bowl with them, right?
We got a bunch. I'm gonna have to go Jay Ruane on this and figure out how can I then take this piece, because that's what's interesting when you get it. You can't use any player's numbers because you have to contract with them individually. So
Right.
as soon as we got this, DC's got a new quarterback. You and many, several $100,000 could have that guy as your spokesperson. So it's like just getting the team is not enough. It's then lining up the talent.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I'll look at that afterwards.
But like, I mean, but people are out there and they're thinking, gosh, what can I do? Okay, so here's another example, right? What can I do to build brand with a certain cohort, right? And like, for example, I was talking to a colleague up here who does special education law. I have a daughter with special education needs. We had him represent her, and he did a fantastic job, right? And he said, I want to build my brand among this community of kids who have special education needs. So I said, a backpack giveaway is one thing, but you're going to give away 100 backpacks to get one kid who might have special education needs or two. I said, why not? Because you are aware of this community, there are children that have autism that can't go to the movies because it's dark. They have sensory issues and the like. I said, do the movie buyout,
Do
have
the
the
live.
lights on, have the volume down, and parents in the audience will be very much more
I
patient with the other.
you know, I just my kids volunteer for a group now. One coaches at it, an amazing nonprofit in the DC area, which does sports for special needs kids, and there are a bunch of different activities like that. Throw your $500 for sponsorship at those things because each of the parents attending, right, who are bringing their kids each week, they're the ones that are most likely to have the most serious need for you.
Yeah, and you talk about that. My son, he played a little league. He graduated from little league at the end of last year. Played travel for a year. He's giving it up, but the one thing he's not giving up, he coaches the challenger division of little league. He goes every Sunday for 3 hours and he plays little league with all these kids with special needs. And he loves it. He's going into high school and he's like, "All right, I got my service hours done for the
Yeah.
year, and I'll do as many more as I
Yeah,
can."
so
I love
ours Open Door Sports, amazing organization done by a local friend, and our kids volunteered, and now one has done the service hours, and now he's a paid coach.
Yeah, it's amazing. So one of the things I want to talk about was, did you know that this past week, August 23rd, so a little over a week earlier this week, I guess it was Sunday, cheapest day of the year to book travel.
Really?
I had no idea. My
Yeah.
wife said, "Hey, I got this in my feed a bunch of times." I got myself flights to Aruba and flights to Orlando around the Christmas holiday, and I got it all on points for like under 200,000 points to go to both destinations all in.
That's
I got six flights to Orlando at 11,000 points, not to Orlando, to Aruba, 11,000 points each. Amazing. Now you are Mr. Travel. You travel everywhere. You're on a flight every week. And I think you fly a lot of Southwest, right?
I used to. I moved beyond, but that was my for many years. That was the way I did it.
Who are you flying now?
Well, I have buku loyalty with American.
Okay.
Um, they all suck.
They
But
really do.
yeah,
I mean, we
yeah.
talked about on the show how I
Yeah,
got
and you got screwed by the best of them. I wish I was
right.
on Delta. And the ones who screwed. But Southwest is not what Southwest was. I don't want to be. It's not terrible, but it's
No,
it's sort of they're going through a bunch of changes. American, look, they if the planes land safely and take off safely, God bless. But it's the closest to my house. It's easy, and when
okay.
it works, it's awesome. United has Dulles, and Dulles has got to be the worst airport in the world. Um, but anyway, no good answers.
So are you like the king of points for
Oh,
travel?
oh, I
You got
love
to
that.
have a
I
million
love that.
points
We
in
never
order.
talking about it here, but I study that stuff. It's a hobby. It's better than meth. I I basically, and especially we could do a special episode on this. And there are a lot of other people in our space like that love this as well. But which credit cards for a business owner is very different than for a consumer, and mixing it up. So if you know that you have X dollars per spend, if somebody says, I have $1 million a year that I put on credit cards for my firm, how you divide that up. For example, $1.10, $1.20 on Southwest gets you a companion pass.
Right,
If you were all in on Southwest, you and your wife could each get one,
right.
put 240 towards it, for example, and then two kids fly free, just as an
And
example.
I'm flying out of LaGuardia or Westchester, Southwest doesn't
No, no,
go
no.
there.
Yeah, that's just I'm giving
Like,
you an example. So there, you need Delta and American. The thing about American is with 200,000 on American, you can have executive platinum, right? Their top level stuff. I think it's 2 or 250, something like that. And all of a sudden, you're getting perks. You're occasionally getting your family, your people upgraded. Again, maybe you don't want to go executive platinum. You only put 75, and then we have free luggage for your whole family when you travel. Whatever it is, there are each of these different pieces, or you get yourself to economy plus. They're all
right,
different games. Then you have the Amexes with its travel portal, where you could send it to different airlines so that you keep it there. Oh, I want to go Emirates, you put it on Emirates. And what's interesting is the battle. So we have Chase just went all in on a luxury one. It's now 795. I was
right.
crazy enough to get the business card. So you have that on one side where they then give you coupons. So it's $800, but you get $300 for this and $200 for that. And what's really interesting is that it's all well and good. It's about a break even on the coupons to what you're doing on average. Depends how they're trying to get you on the business card, for example, to use things like ZipRecruiter or
Right.
Indeed, or they have these partnerships where the companies give the money to get these. But what's interesting on the Chase one is that if you get over a minimum spend, it's more on the business than on the personal. There's a $500 Southwest credit, and well, that's real money. Like
Yeah.
and it's like you're at an airport where you don't see a lot of it, but if you take one trip a year, that would you could spend it. So it's figuring that out. And then Capital One's in the game. So I think a lot of it's figuring it out. I think that at the end of the day, if you had a 2% cashback card, you'd likely be better off and not do all the permutations that I'm doing and just enjoy it. But there's something about when I travel that it's free that makes me do things I wouldn't do or otherwise. I would not pay for a business class trip when I travel internationally, but I love it and it
You
allows me
wouldn't
to.
pay for a business class.
I'm pretty
You're
frugal.
tall.
I'm, I
Oh
know
my
this
God.
allows me to get it and not think about the money.
Oh, see,
No, no, because
if I'm flying anything over 4 hours, I gotta be first class, business class at the
well, but
worst.
you're the same guy who also I aspire to be, where you pick up meals and you do these things. It's just a mindset. Like I'm looking at a new car right now, and like I wanted a Tesla, but I can't buy that now because it's persona non grata in my neighborhood. So and I just the idea that I'm going from no car payment for the last 13 years, I'm leasing now, right? Want to lease it through the firm, and I'm looking at this stuff, and like when did cars become that I like $80,000?
They really are ridiculously expensive.
And what I'm finding on the leases, they're all pricing at 60, but they're leasing off 40 by the time you put all the different shenanigans in. So, it's just been fast. And Gary Vee's in the
Would it
back
be
of my
cheaper for you to just Uber everywhere?
I would prefer to do that any day. Uh, there's a certain amount of life that in the suburbs that it helps to have an actual vehicle. Um,
Yeah.
and but that for that reason, I actually, I'm looking at it and I want an electric. My wife just got the Kia EV9. It's freaking awesome. Didn't love the Kia on the smaller SUV. So I'm looking around and I'll give you an example. This is the type of stuff that keeps me up at night. Permutations. Would love a Polestar. They're really cool. Volvo makes them. They're these cool electric cars, but they have a 27-month lease. That's what they're putting all their incentives into instead of 36. Maryland and Virginia, I live in Maryland, requires you to pay the tax on a lease all up front. So does Virginia. I don't know what New York and Connecticut do. DC has a higher tax, 10 instead of 6%, but you pay it as you go. So on a shorter lease, it brings the cost way down. Whereas if it's a short lease, if you did a short lease out of Maryland, you're paying the entire tax up front, which means
That's
it's
a
amortized over a short period of time.
right.
It shoots it up. So part of it is who has the deal at what time. Could I afford it? I can afford either of them. But the idea of going from zero to like $1,000 a month seems insane. I'm more like a $600-700 person. Write it off, and I can quasi live with it. But yes, I wish I could just Uber everywhere.
Yeah, I can't only imagine. All right, I think that's a whole we went a whole trip around the world there. But I think it's good. And folks, if you are charging stuff for your business, for your firm, you should be looking for some sort of rewards, whatever you're going to use. But you got to use them. Right now, I got 2.9 million Amex miles. I got to do something with them.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, look, you don't want to let them sit too long because they devalue. At the
Yeah.
same time, they're also great for a rainy day when I had a situation like yours where I knew the night before a flight was canceled for two people and was able to move miles around and get a Delta first class flight to Aruba that my wife and daughter took. My
Huh.
daughter's sitting in first class at age 3 with her bagel and orange juice. God bless. So it's great when you need them. I would say my biggest sort of hack, and we can talk about this more extensively, is the Amex Business Gold, right? Everyone's platinum for lounges. Business Gold 4X on internet spend, Facebook, and
And Google Ads.
yeah, and Google, and that's a big deal. And you can max it out for $1.50. And if you're spending more than $1.50 a year, you get a second one. It's a great product.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely spending more than 150,000.
So if you want to double your Amex, you know,
Point. Yeah. I should do that. These
yeah.
are the things. These are the things, folks. This is what matters. All right, that's going to do it for us this week on the Law Firm Blueprint. Thank you for talking to us. Thank you for being here with us. Of course, you can take us on the go anywhere you want to go by subscribing to the Law Firm Blueprint podcast. And as always, you can catch us live on LinkedIn and live in our Facebook group, the Law Firm Blueprint, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. That's going to do it for us. He's Seth. I'm Jay. Have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, folks. We'll see you next week as we push towards the end of the year. Bye for now.